I think it's an absolute miracle because once upon a time I couldn't manage 10 minutes, let alone 10 years. Hey folks, it's Finn. Welcome back folks, lovely to see you. So today's video is another celebratory vlog. This month has been one of those months where there's just loads of milestones to celebrate. So the big milestone right now that makes all of my other milestones possible is the fact that this month, on the 17th of August, I celebrated 10 years clean and sober. That's 10 years without a drink or a drug. So in today's video, I just want to celebrate that and also reflect a bit on what it was like 10 years ago just walking into recovery and what life's like now and just general how I manage my sobriety and how we got there. But before we get stuck in, if you are new around here, then a very, very big welcome. My name is Finn and I share my life in recovery as a gay transgender man. So here on this channel you will find loads of really honest, inspiring content around gender transition, LGBT life, mental health and personal development. So if you haven't already, I would love it if you'd subscribe. You'll be helping my channel more than you know because every sub really does count. And plus, if you subscribe and tick the notification bell, then you won't miss any of my uploads. Because why would you want to miss out on all of the regular Finnstallments? So, 10 years in recovery. 10 years ago was 2010 and I had just come out of a 26-month therapy program where I'd been attending 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, full time, because I had incredibly problematic mental health. In that therapy program, they taught controlled drinking. And as somebody who is an alcoholic, we don't do controlled drinking. We lie. And that's what I did throughout the whole of therapy, was I pretty much lied my way through it when it came to drinking. I would be put on contracts to limit my drink, to limit the kind of drinks I was having. I'd find loopholes in the contracts. My drinking did improve for the time I was in the therapy, but I hadn't really properly addressed it. And so when I came out of that therapy, I came out of the therapy in the April, and in the August, I sobered up. I had just had a party from April to August, and I remember very little of it. Now, the therapy I'd had was said to be the best you could get at the time, and I felt like it had just failed. I just failed yet again, because here I was back, really struggling with my drinking and really out of control again. And I hit a moment where it was either, this is it now, you are just going to jump in front of a bus, or you're going to do something about this once and for all. And I think I just hit the right rock bottom for me. It wasn't my first rock bottom and it wasn't my lowest. I've hit rock bottom many times and just about scraped through and got back. This time it wasn't the low bottom I'd had before, but it was the wake up I needed just to see. It was funny because I had this realisation as I was crossing a road, and it was this moment of like, I either go this way or this way now, and either way I go, there's no coming back. So I decided to get some help from my drinking, and I was suggested to go to Alcoholics Anonymous, which I did, and I spent 2 weeks trying to get into a meeting because I was so anxious. So every time I would get to a meeting, I think, oh, I can't do this, I'm just too nervous, I'll go and have a drink. So I'd go and have a drink, and then I think, well, I've had a drink now, I can't go to AA. Heads up, you can go to AA if you've had a drink, you just don't share. Anyway, after procrastinating for a while, I eventually got to a meeting, and there was this incredible lady outside who was a greeter. Lots of AA meetings have what is called a greeter. They stand outside and welcome newcomers. They play such an important role, because if it wasn't for this greeter, I'd probably have walked past the meeting again. But she was really welcoming. She just said, oh, hello, come in, pretty much dragged me into the room. And I remember standing in this room, and there was a row of chairs in the middle around some tables, and then a table at the top, and then chairs around the outside of the room as well. And I remember standing there and thinking, what do I have to do to get to the middle of the room? So I just sat at the back because I thought perhaps that's what you do. And in that first meeting, bearing in mind that I'd had 26 months of group therapy, so I was used to the therapy dynamic of lots of people sharing, in about 20 minutes of that meeting, I related more to those people than I had in the whole 26 months of therapy. It was like every single person was telling my story. Everybody was sharing about the little things they'd done, about twisting the truth about drinking. Little things like saying to somebody, oh, however much you had to drink today, just a couple. And a couple would mean, for me, would mean a couple of crates. And little things like rocking up to a party with some bottles for the party, but having some stashed in your bag just in case it runs out. Little things that I used to do and just thought nothing of it. Thought everyone did it. I thought everybody, when they went up to get a round for everybody at the table, also got themselves a shot or two of whiskey to down whilst you were getting everyone else round in. Little things like that. And I was hearing people sharing these things and laughing. These people were in recovery and laughing. And for me, it was just, I was in so much pain at the time. I couldn't imagine being able to feel that okay about my alcoholism. All these people were sober. And as I was hearing them share, some of them were like 10, 15, 20 years sober. And they were happy. And they were still coming to meetings. And I was completely flabbergasted by all of this. And they were also nice to me as well, which was also flabbergasting because at the time I didn't like myself at all. And so anybody that was nice to me, I was really suspicious of, because I thought, why on earth would you want to be nice to me? Bless old me. Now, of course, I get it, because being in recovery this long, whenever I see a newcomer, I'm just all over them. I just want to help, I want to support, I want to pay forward what I've got, because that's the whole thing in AA. We only keep what we have by giving it away. And I get that now. So, you know, to be now 10 years, I am that person that I listened to, sat round that room, speaking really wisely, laughing about their old exploits and laughing now about how they could have been in that much denial about their drink. I'm that person. And what was said to me back in the day was, don't worry about that. We don't worry about all of that, the future, it doesn't matter. It's just now. Work with coming to each meeting. It's one day at a time and just live to the next meeting. And in early days, I was doing 2 or 3 meetings a day. I was lucky, Oxford had lots of meetings, and I couldn't cope being sober. I'd never had feelings before, and to be able to cope with all of this, I was just literally living about 4 hours at a time. I'd get up, I'd know I'd have a meeting at say midday, so I would cope until midday, have the meeting. Cope till 6 p.m, go to another meeting, go home, put my head on a pillow. And I just kept doing that one day at a time. And those one day at a times have just added up. And I think this is why it still astounds me every time I hit a milestone, because I never think about the length of time. I'm always, even now at 10 years sober, focusing on the day. I'm not drinking today because I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't want to have a drink, but unless I pay attention to today and what I'm doing to look after myself today, I cannot guarantee how tomorrow will be. And it's this way of living that kept me sober through the worst times. You all followed last year when I lost Mum. That was the closest I got to a drink for a while. Why didn't I drink? Because I've worked hard on my recovery. I was told in early days that what you need to do is you need to build a life you don't want to lose. And then that way, when something awful happens, you won't want to risk it on drink. And they were so right, because I worked so hard on, this is why we keep going to meetings, to remind ourselves what it was like. So that when something bad happens, like when Mum died, I could think, oh, I really would love a drink, just a head holiday, to not have to deal with this. But then I can play that tape forward and think, yes, Finn, but if you have a drink, you're going to sober up tomorrow, Mum's still going to be dead, and you'll have drunk, so then things will be worse. So I could play that tape forward. And I know that if I have a drink, all of this is gone. I've just graduated with the OU with a first class honours. Why? Because I'm sober. Told you these vlogs are going to be emotional at the moment. If I hadn't got sober, I wouldn't have discovered that I was trans. I wouldn't have had the courage to transition. I wouldn't have had the courage to go back to uni. Without the sobriety, I wouldn't have been able to manage all of the recovery, all of the mental health around transitioning and study. I wouldn't have Chris. I wouldn't have this home. I wouldn't have anything. This business I'm growing. All of this I have because of my sobriety. And that's what keeps me sober when the worst things happen. When, it was like 2 or 3 months of after Mum died, where I was in so much pain. And I wanted that escape. But what kept me sober was knowing that that wasn't going to take the pain away long term. And it would make things worse, and it would just take my whole life out from under my feet. I don't want that. My mum wouldn't want that. And that's how you stay sober when the worst thing happens. Is you play the tape forward and you sit in gratitude for what you do have. It doesn't mean that what's going on isn't rubbish and awful and painful, but you can sit in gratitude with what you do have. I have Chris, business, home, opportunities, life, all of these things, all of the stuff I enjoy now that I ruined when I was sober. Like, that I love my festivals, Glastonbury Festival. What's my best thing about Glastonbury Festival now? Going to meetings. In the healing field, there are 3 meetings a day in a 12-step dome tent. That's my highlight. Now when I go to festivals, I remember everything. I'm present and I feel all of the emotions. Yes, it's tough to feel difficult emotions sometimes, but the joy of being sober and what makes it worthwhile dealing with the awful stuff is when good stuff happens, I feel it completely. There is no chemical numbing that joy of whatever I'm going through at a particular time. To feel the kaleidoscope of emotions in life is wonderful. And it's bizarre thinking that now, because 10 years ago, how I lived my life up until sobriety was emotions were bad, feelings were bad, I couldn't cope with them. I spent my entire life running from emotions with all sorts of things, drink, drugs, food, self-harm, all of those things, to not feel. Whereas now my whole life is based upon the ability to feel and learning how to sit with those things that are difficult. And I love that now. And it's so bizarre that this me and that me exists in time. Because that me is somebody that I just don't even recognise now. Me and Chris have discussions about this, and I talk to him about what I was like. And it's really hard for him to even imagine. And it's hard for me to imagine. So yeah, emotional update on 10 years sober. But I am so grateful, so grateful. I love my second chance of life because that's what this is. 10 years ago in 2010, I got clean and sober and my life began. And I love it. So yes, very emotional today, but the tears are tears of real gratitude. They really are. So, I'm going to leave it there, really. That's all I have to say today on this. Thank you for watching. If anyone has any questions about sobriety, recovery, AA, anything at all, please do let me know because I'd like to do some more videos around this. I realise that I don't do many standalone vlogs on recovery, alcoholism, addiction. But if there's anything you'd like to know, then please do leave me a message in the comment section below. I'm always happy to answer your questions or to create more videos, so please do let me know. Thanks for watching, folks. Keep on keeping on. See you next week.